Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Ask a Trans Attracted Man, Part 3. I'm your host, Troy, and we're going to get right into it. What I'm going to do today is kind of continue on a thought that I was ripping on from the last one, Ask a Trans Attracted Man, Part 2. It's kind of about the Prince Charming type effect that some trans women have, thinking they're going to meet a man who has never dealt with a trans woman before, that he is suddenly going to deal with the issues of sexuality and family and all of the things that comes with being with the trans woman. He's going to be okay with all of that. You guys are going to meet and you're going to live happily ever after. Even in regular dating, two people don't meet. Sometimes things don't go as planned. So to think that that's going to happen in this situation is something that's pretty much fantasy, and I do believe a bunch of BS. There are issues that men go through. We have to transition, and this is the basis of what I'm going to talk about today. That transition. Now, the transition for a man who realizes that he's trans attracted is very much different than a transition that a trans woman or a trans man, for that matter, would go through. Because with a trans man or a trans woman, a transition is matching your outside to kind of match how you feel inside. Same thing with a trans man. So it's very much different than what a guy goes through. What we men go through is all mental. It's all up here. Therein lies the rub. When you're dealing with something that's only internal, there's nothing outwardly that you can gauge your progress from. There's nothing special that you can see and tangible that you can hold on to that's going to allow you to say, hey, well, I'm getting better. I'm becoming this person that I want to be. There's also the fact that, as I stated before, most men who are trans attracted don't have mentors. They don't have anyone that they can go to and talk out these issues that they have. So all of the things that happen with them are all internalized, and you question yourself. You make yourself pretty much crazy. I guess that's the best way to describe it, because you can't come to terms on your own with what's going on in your head. You can't make heads or tails of why you're feeling this way about this woman that you've met or these women that you know that you happen to be attracted to. And because of societal conditioning, because of how we were taught, either through the church or everything else, that this sits outside of the social norms, and you just don't know how to deal with it. And so a lot of men, myself included, make a lot of silly mistakes, overcompensating by dating non-trans women to show, hey, that I'm normal and I'm this regular guy. And you're not really thinking about the consequences of your actions, about the things that happen to those people around you who you care about or who care about you as well. It's pretty much a time when you're really kind of caught into this Mobius loop where you continue the same type of behaviors without really seeing a way out, because you don't have a mentor. You don't have someone that you can go to and say, yo, dog, I got this problem, man. I met this girl and she's beautiful. She's all I've ever wanted. But, she happens to be trans and transgender, transsexual. I don't know too many guys who will be comfortable going to their brothers or their fathers or their uncles or their friends with that sort of information, especially black men, because that's a whole nother subject and a whole nother process to talk about. But I don't know anyone who can go to those people who are around them or close to them, the people that they love, and feel comfortable with having these conversations, because, hey, most people I don't think most people quite understand the whole situation. And they have been conditioned in a way. They have been conditioned to think one way. They have gone to church and they are indoctrinated by the Bible. There's so many different things that tie into how a person thinks about what a trans woman is. What I found in my development is that once, especially my family and the people around me, got to know the ladies that I dated, it changed because they saw them for who they were. These were women who I happen to be attracted to. These were women who I was happy with. They made me content. And so my family saw that and they embraced that and embraced who they were, and saw them as my woman. Whereas most guys taking that leap, getting to that development in their transition, A, takes a long time, but B, that fear that you carry inside, that fear that motivates and drives you to do silly things, that fear really makes you do some things to hurt that women or the women around you that you know, not necessarily because you're a bad person, but because you have no clue on what to do and how to handle it. I know a lot of women may scream that that's BS and that you need to man up and you need to do this and do that, but we've never been in your shoes and you've never been in our shoes. So there are things that I can say as a trans attracted man, well, baby, you should be able to do X, Y, or Z and not have an issue. But I've never been in your shoes. So I really can think I know how you feel, but I'm not going to know how you feel. I'm not going to know what the reality of your situation is because I'm not in your shoes. That's the same thing about trans attracted men. You're not in our shoes. You're not in our heads. You're not in our minds. So we think differently. Our situations are different. The path may be similar, but again, as I said previously, our transition is all mental. It's all in your mind. Because it's all in your mind, seeing that development, seeing that change, seeing something tangible to give you a guide to where you are versus where you were, it simply isn't there. So without having that, what happens, you don't know where you're going. You don't know where you've been unless you can honest and truly grab onto it, hold on to it, and learn from the mistakes that you've made. A lot of us men don't even have the opportunity to be able to talk to the women that we are with or care about if we're having issues. Because if you think a man is having issues about being with you because you're trans, a lot of ladies shut a brother down. They shut you down. I don't want to hear that. I want a man that wants to be with me and that. And it's not, sometimes it's not all about you. It's about that man and what that man is going through in his mind. And without having an outlet, without having someone else to relate to, it makes it very difficult for men to deal with that because men don't share. Men don't talk and communicate, especially about feelings and things of the heart, because that ain't manly enough. That's not, I ain't going, I ain't no sissy no punk, blah, blah, blah. And so what happens, you manifest a lot of the chaos that's in your mind by doing little silly things like sleeping with a number of women who are not trans to kind of validate how much you're a man. Look at me. Look what I can do. I can get any woman I want. That's not what you really want, but you want to say, hey, look at this hand. Woo. But this other hand's doing something different. So just pay attention to this one. It's say, hey, look over here. And sometimes it's a, well, yes, I can't think of the phrase right now, but it's like espionage. It's like, don't look over here, but over here is where the real thing is going. So I'm encouraging you ladies to understand that we men do go through a transition, and to understand that. But at some point, especially after a certain period of time, a man needs to come to a come to Jesus moment where he looks in the mirror and he realizes who he is and what he wants and what's best for him. A lot of ladies sometimes allow men to take that too far and to use that crutch and to always have that crutch. When I started out back in long time ago, it was different. There was no internet. There was no Jerry Springer. There was no Maury. There was nothing in social media. That term didn't even exist. So there was nothing out there that prepared me for running into a trans woman and knowing what a trans woman was. When I began to read and look into what a trans woman was, the initial things that I saw really didn't have anything that described what a trans woman was to me, because they thought a trans woman was a sort of gay man. So I know that I did not like men. I knew that I did not like anything that looked like me. I like me. I'm good. But that's about it. So when you get information like that and it doesn't jive with what your mind is telling you and what society in general is telling you, then you get this conflict where you're battling yourself and you're torturing yourself. Because I was tortured for quite a period of time until I came to grips with who I am and what I wanted. And my come to Jesus moment was kind of strange, but it just involved it being put up in my face. And I pretty much had a choice between a trans girl and a non-trans girl. And I chose a trans girl, and that was that. She wasn't too happy about that, the non-trans woman, but it helped me out. It helped me realize who I am, what I was, and what I wanted to do. And I've never looked back. But again, we do go through a transition. I do encourage the brothers out there to reach out to each other. You can do it through social media. You can do it and be anonymous and get some tips, get some pointers, get some help. Where, again, like I said, back in the day, I didn't have that. And so I struggled all on my own, wondering what was wrong with me and why I felt this way. The most freeing part, like I've said before, was being open and honest and realizing that there's nothing wrong with me and that I just like a different kind of woman. And the women that I have dealt with have been some spectacular women. I wish some things could have been different and that I was in a different development for some of the women that I have been with. But I'm going to continue to grow. I'm going to continue to try to reach out and try to just help some people. That's the thing that we don't do enough. Each one teach one. It's something that's been said a long time ago. I think I'm going to keep taking that ball and I'm going to run with it and try to make a difference. I will see you on Ask a Trans Attracted Man, Part 4. Thank you, guys.